All right, ladies and gentlemen, back to the business.
To convict President Trump. Yours will be a Pyrrhic victory, for instead of stopping the Trump train, his movement will grow stronger, for you will have made him a martyr.
Donald Trump is a living, breathing, impeachable offense. It is what it is.
Read Ms. Cheney's statement. Let's come together and impeach the president for this high crime against the republic. We don't have a minute to spare. He is a clear and present danger to the people.
I believe impeaching the president in such a short time frame would be a mistake.
Why?
That doesn't mean the president is free from fault. The president bears
he wants to give him a
for Wednesday's
slap on the wrist. We got to censure him. Shut the
rioters.
fuck up, Kevin McCarthy.
He is
bitch.
capable of starting a civil war. He must be impeached. He must be stopped now.
Let's get right to NBC News correspondent Leanne Caldwell, who is on Capitol Hill. Leanne, your reaction, your thoughts on the vote on the floor today. I know you've been following these lawmakers throughout. Did this vote go as you expected? Anyone really surprise you here?
So what ended up happening was 10 House Republicans ended up voting with all Democrats in support of impeaching this president for the second time. Remember, last time the president was impeached just about a year ago, no Republicans joined on. So one of the most surprising things to me, Allison, was one lawmaker, Representative Rice of South Carolina. He comes from a very conservative district, including the third most conservative county in the state. He's not someone who usually bucks the party, not someone who bucks the president at all. He's kind of been a under the radar type of lawmaker. But the fact that he came out in support of impeachment today was really astonishing, actually. Of course, there was Representative Liz Cheney, who the most influential and high-ranking Republican, who did come out for impeachment as well. And then there was one statement that I also want to note of Representative McCall. He is a leading member, the chair of the Armed Services Committee, and Foreign Relations Committee, or he was. Anyway,
yeah,
and he
said, "Fucks the
said
president."
that he voted against impeachment, but he said perhaps he might come out on the wrong
She did
side
not
of
say. She said
history.
bucks.
He acknowledged that there were lots of problems, and he's not sure if his vote against impeachment was the right one. But politically, Allison,
Thank you,
all
PGGB,
10
for
of
the
these
subs.
Republicans who voted to
And
impeach.
King of Ghosts for the
one thing
5
that's
gifted
interesting
sub.
is our colleague Carrie Dan. She notes that all 10 of them outperformed the president in their conservative districts in the 2020 election, Allison.
Huh. Oh, that is really interesting for sure, Leanne. So what stood out in particular to you about today? I know this is a day unlike any other, but was there one moment where you just said, wow, this really struck me?
We love you.
I was really watching to see how House Republicans who were against impeachment were going to frame their argument, and they were all over the place. There was not one unified message. Some Republicans were saying that they needed to unify the country and not divide the country. That's why they didn't support impeachment. Some were blaming Democrats and blaming the left, basically saying that that impeachment was another witch hunt, which the president said the other day.
They don't want to. They want to unite, dude. Yeah, that's why.
Like the leader Kevin McCarthy, who for the very first time he said that the president, publicly anyway, said the president bears some responsibility. And he also, for the first time, said that Joe Biden won the election. Let's take a listen.
It's not enough.
Let's be clear. Joe Biden
This
will
is
be
not
sworn
enough.
in
This
as
is
President of
bullshit.
the United States in 1 week because he won the election. And the presidency and this Congress will face immediate challenges that must be addressed. I stand ready to assist in that effort with good faith, goodwill, and an open hand.
The reason it is significant that McCarthy said that Joe Biden did win the election, because let's remember the roots of what happened here is because the president and so many Republicans would refuse to admit that, riling up their supporters, leading to what we saw just 1 week ago in the Capitol, Allison.
Leanne, let's talk a little bit more about the Republicans. You said 10 House Republicans voted to impeach President Trump this time around. Yesterday, we heard from the number 3 House Republican, Liz Cheney, saying that...
Okay, I don't care about Liz Cheney. Listen, oh my God, stop sucking off Liz Cheney. Why is everybody talking about Liz Cheney? Oh my God, fuck her. Okay, listen, guys. Republicans that are literally using this as an opportunity. Here, let's listen to what she had to
some
say. But
comfort to, in fact,
oh, never
come
mind. They're not showing your speech. So Republicans that are using this as an opportunity to separate themselves, from Donald Trump as though they are something different than Donald Trump, are using this in a very pragmatic way. It's not even the bare minimum. The bare minimum would be to call out other Republicans as well and be like, well, you know, we should also look at the actions our colleagues have taken in like galvanizing and emboldening these people who do not believe that the election was won, instead of lying about the election outcomes for such a long period of time until they literally physically could no longer lie about it. There are still Republicans in Congress that are lying about the outcome of the election and maintaining the position that, like, you know, the election was stolen. Like, it's not enough to just say, yeah, Donald Trump bad, Orange Man bad. Like, you have to recognize that the root cause of these problems, you have to recognize the root cause of these problems, which are structural inequalities, structural inefficiencies, material inequalities, a lot of racial animosity that has not been solved and instead been used. A lot of racial animosity that has not been solved. Okay, I turned off TTS for now. And instead been used as a weapon to drive people to go out and vote for the Republicans. Like, you have to constantly recognize that. You have to remember that that's like what Republicans have been doing. They've been lying about fucking elections and election integrity for so fucking long. And this was just simply a logical culmination, a final step in that process. So they've been doing this for a very, very long time. So don't like, make no mistake. They've been lying about the shit even before Donald Trump, and they're going to continue lying about it so they can justify voter suppression measures. Okay? So Liz Cheney doing the bare minimum here is not really like putting herself out there or anything like that, or doing the reasonable thing. Like, we should just recognize that as the pragmatic take that she's making. And then remember that, like, a lot of these Republicans are demons that won't even do that. Okay?
Now, the question is what happens in the Senate. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell just put out a statement seconds ago, right before I came on air, saying that the earliest that the trial can begin is January 19th. He declined to invoke the emergency powers that Senator Schumer says that he and McConnell have the ability to do. And so what he laid out in his timeline is, we can do this, but I'm just going to tell you that the last impeachment trials took anywhere from 20 days to 36 days, and that will consume a good portion of the beginning of the Biden presidency.
How should writers go about contacting you for comment on current events / interviews? You can DM me on Discord. You can @me on Twitter. You can write in my chat. I'm very approachable. I usually don't know all, though. Not on purpose, but I'm pretty bad at fucking responding to messages and shit.
You will. Were we expecting Nancy Pelosi, Steny Hoyer, and Jim Clyburn to be speaking shortly as soon as they take the podium? We will, of course, bring that to you. In the meantime, Leanne, I've got another question for you about the Senate. The New York Times reporting.
Important information. When you see that video, those National Guard members, you see many of them.
This is on the ground. Okay, hold on. I want to see what they're saying now.
From the Republican Party, going back to this theme of the splits within the party and the difficulties this party will have bringing itself back together. Yeah, what are you hearing from other Senate Republicans about that, and about how much of an influence that could potentially have on their votes in the Senate trial?
Yeah. So before I get to that answer, Allison, I just do want to bring up one thing, because viewers see it on the screen.
Sure.
That podium is the same podium that you saw in the images of those rioters carrying out in the Capitol Rotunda. So that.
Yo, this is a controversial take, but like, the podium theft is like, it's not. Like, I am way more worried about people who rolled into Congress with like flex cuffs than the guy who stole the podium. Like, I'm sorry. It's almost, it's funny. Like, it's not even, it's a piece of wood. It's literally funny. It's childish as fuck. Like, there's people that built pipe bombs and shit. And the lectern, like, or whoever, the dude, the dad, the stay-at-home dad stole the lectern. Like, I really don't care about that at all. I really don't care. I'm sorry. I know I'm supposed to. Terrorism equals funny. First of all, we make fun of everything here. And yes, sometimes even terrorism when it's such hog-like levels of terrorism. I mean, have you never seen like fucking, I mean, I can't show you anymore because it's not a part of the new TOS, but like, have you never seen like a fucking ISIS training video where they jump over barrels of fire and shit? It's hilarious. It's so fucking stupid. I don't know why they do that. They will literally have like firebenders in the corner while like dudes wearing the, I think it's a shamak, will like literally do barrel rolls and like leap between barrels that are on fire and shit. It's so stupid. What the fuck is this?
Found them to get to the House floor today. It is extremely rare to see troops setting up camp at the U.S. Capitol like this. It has happened just twice since the Civil War. NBC News political reporter Vaughn Hilliard is outside the Capitol this evening. Vaughn, the pictures of the security at the...
What? First of all, bro, this is bad base building, okay? Rust brain, whatever. That's bad base building. The chain link fence is like tippable. You cannot just put a fucking chain link fence. You got to build at least a high external stone wall. That's 1,500 rock per stone wall, but it's worth it, okay? That's number one. 2, you got to put auto turrets. 3, you got to power those auto turrets with a solar panel or a windmill that is in an area that is not easily accessible, okay? Chain link fence is crooked and terrible, easy to fucking topple. Not good. Not good. Do we get drops for this? Yes. Rust drops are on now, boys.
Tonight to arm the National Guard. I'm also told that we should expect the number of National...
I can't wait to show you guys what I did with my gun emporium, by the way, later today in a little bit. I was building it earlier this morning. That's why I was late. I was building with Racy, who's the nicest person on the planet.
It fell until hours after individuals had already broken in and made their way into the...
I also can't wait. I have a fun plan for you guys. I'm going to run for mayor/president of Rustopia. And I've already reached out to Ludwig. And I think that coward Kelvin Ballsworth might come up and run up against me. Hank Pecker, an American hero.
And where the U.S. Capitol steps start here. This is quiet around
Pecker
here.
2021, folks!
You couldn't see any law enforcement. We were out on the west front of the Capitol, and there was no law enforcement, no National Guard to be seen. Now, frankly, Allison, that's all you can see here on the Capitol grounds tonight.
Vaughn, we know Joe Biden's inauguration is now just 1 week away. How will security there be ramping up even more this week? And specifically, what do we know about the plans for Inauguration Day?
FBI warrants
Inauguration
plans
Day
of
will
nationwide
take
armed
place
protests
on
next
that
week.
west platform. This is the east side of the Capitol. The west side is the one that faces towards the National Mall and the Washington Monument. The inaugural team announcing yesterday that it will, in fact, despite those threats that have continued here over the course of the last days, that inauguration will still take place. Again, 6,600 National Guardsmen here today. That number is expected to jump by 15,000. And that is coming in as a supplemental role to support Capitol Police, to support the Metropolitan Police Department of D.C., to support the National Park Service. There are several federal and local law enforcement agencies on the ground here. The National Guard is not only coming in a law enforcement capacity, but also to help support in logistical and traffic, but also on the medical front here. This is a Washington, D.C. that is all but shut down in the blocks between here and the White House right now. And that is why here, 1 week ahead of Inauguration Day, and as these impeachment proceedings are underway right now, after what happened a week ago, you have a very much of a lockdown, a ghost town outside of that National Guard and that law enforcement presence, Allison.
Yeah, it is incredible to see how D.C. has locked down. Vaughn, thank you so much for showing us what's going on today and what we should expect in the days ahead. Appreciate it, my friend.
Thanks, my friend.
A majority of Americans said President Trump should be impeached. 55% favored impeaching Donald Trump, while 45% opposed it. In a new CBS News...
What the fuck? How are there 45% of people who are still saying no? What does it take? I mean, he was so right. Listen, Donald Trump has some qualities that you have to admit. He's an incredible poster. Okay? He's got the thickest of dumpies, like just fat, just the thickest. Okay? I could write poetry about his dumpy for days. Okay? He's stacked up. He's got the bakery. Okay? He's got the bread factory up in that ass. So that's one. But two, he's thick. He's a thick boy. But two, he's also an incredible poster. But lastly, he literally could see the fucking future. When he said I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and people would still love me and people would still fucking vote for me and nothing would happen. Like, that was right. That was right. It's right, dude. No one is fucking saying he shouldn't be impeached because it's a waste of time for the Senate. No. They're saying he shouldn't be impeached because they don't think he did anything impeachable.
President's had a very, very small group of people around him, in part because he has sort of closed himself off, in part because some aides and advisors have left the White House, moving on to other things, and others have left in response to what took place over the last week. We do know that the president has been in touch with Senator Lindsey Graham, who has been one of his friends, but also spoke out against what the president did in terms of his rhetoric last week and some of the actions around the riotous behavior of some of the Trump supporters. So Lindsey Graham is not supporting impeachment and was trying to get others to hold that view as well, while being critical of what the president said and what he did and did not do.
Dude, he's such a piece of shit, dude. He's the worst person on the planet. I swear to God.
Call off
he's such
the violence and to bring in resources and help and that sort of thing. So the president is very much a man alone. The presidency can be a lonely job. In the best of days, it is a particularly lonely job when you've suffered a defeat at the ballot box and this kind of really distressing political damage based on his calls to try to overturn the election, his calls to get his supporters to fight, and all that came from that. So it's a remarkable time, and one where in the final days of his presidency, no one would have imagined it could get this bad, but it has. But we do expect in some form to hear from the president, in addition to the statement where he speaks about not wanting any other violence.
Whoa!
That may be too little too late.
Someone said check Trump's Twitter. Oh, no. Yeah, let's check his Twitter. What does he have to say about this? Oh, no. Oops, we can't. We can't find out because it's 1984 and 1986 and 1987. It's worse than 1984. George Orwell. It's George Orwell 1986. I don't know. I didn't read it. There's hogs and pigs and they're talking and shit, right? Animal Crossing, whatever that fucking game kids are playing on the Nintendo. George Orwell Redenbacher.
Representatives who stand for an entire state, whereas districts can be very politically diluted or very much saturated in one party or another. But 10 Republicans going against the president is a historic high in the handful of these impeachments that have occurred historically. So that is certainly a blow. And we already know there are senators who have spoken out condemning his actions. And at this point, Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader for a remaining time until those Georgia senators are given the oath of office, he has signaled that he's not yet deciding which way to go. He will listen to the evidence, he says, but there's been reporting that through associates of his, he has indicated that he believes the president's conduct was impeachable. That can sometimes be a distinction where they may not vote to impeach, but there's been such broad condemnation of the president's rhetoric and his actions and his behavior about the election and the fight over election fraud that really wasn't.
Oh my God.